In this video, we're going to go over the 25% tariff that are going to hit Canada and Mexico. And we're going to see how bad this actually is. And we're going to talk about it from my perspective, why I actually believe that this is not going to be that bad for consumers. So let's go over what the idea is. The idea is to put tariffs on Mexico 25% and tariffs from Canada, right? I don't know why we did Canada, but hey, that's just how it is. So now for Mexico, we all know that you can manufacture very, very cheaply in Mexico. So, and I've been covering this a long, long time ago, where John Deere moved a whole bunch of manufacturing to Mexico. And for a hypothetical scenario, we're going to go over this. And I have a manufacturing company. So let's just say that this hypothetical scenario, I have a manufacturing company in Vegas and I employ 10 people. And all those 10 people make about $60,000 a year. So if you're a manufacturer, you're paying that out every year. So I'm spending about $60,000 on salaries and a little bit more of unemployment tax, payroll tax, and workman's comp, and all these other things. So one day I wake up as the owner of the factory and say, you know what, I'm going to manufacture everything in Mexico. They give huge incentives. I have the list right here that for manufacturing and just import it for free at no cost to the United States. So what happens is, first of all, the building that I'm in, I'm not going to pay rent, I'm not going to pay property taxes, so it's going to go vacant. And then I'm going to let these 10 people that I've employed at $600,000 go cut that out. And all these people now are going to start collecting unemployment. They're going to start collecting benefits, and they might not feed their family, they'll lose houses, and so it's going to be a whole process. Who knows how much thousands of dollars are going to go down the tube because these people can't feed their families anymore. Maybe they were the breadwinner and everything else, so now they're unemployed. So when these people become unemployed, there's so much that goes into it that the state now needs to cover with Medicare or whatever they qualify for, right? They get all these subsidies, so somebody's got to pay for that. So that is going to be the burden on the rest of everybody else. And it's fair enough, they paid into the system, right? But now what's not really fair is that Mexico is giving them all these incentives. What, as from Mexico perspective, if I was Mexico, I would do the same thing. So now you're like, now this business owner cut down labor costs, cut down everything, and now you're trying to sell it back into the United States. So all of a sudden, you do that, and one thing that people say, oh, when we export to Mexico, the stuff should get cheaper. But most things do not get cheaper, even though you relocate manufacturing, you do a whole bunch of stuff. Products and goods mostly don't come cheaper, right? They never kind of go down in price, they normally only go up. So even though you cut your costs by a whole lot, you are now still selling it to that high price in the United States. So let me know what you guys think about all this so far, and please like and subscribe if you haven't. I make this video all the time like this, and 80% of you are not subscribed, so make sure that you check that bell so when I upload videos, you can watch it. So back to the video. And okay, if I was Mexico, I did the exact same thing. And now these US consumers that you're trying to sell their stuff, it's going to be really, really hard because all these 10 people that I let go in my community are unemployed. They can't go to pizza shops. They can't go out and spend on new cars, on car maintenance, and all this other stuff because the money's just not there because you took that out of the community, out of your local economy. And so now the unemployment office has to step in and you got to do all that. So it's going to cost you more in the long run to have these people unemployed than just saying, you know what, we're going to increase the taxes to 50, 60% when you manufacture in another place, because all these people need to collect their benefits from somewhere. So where are these benefits going to come from that you're going to be collecting? Because most people do want to work. They do want to contribute, and they do want to work. And I know with the news and all that, we hear about how everybody's like, oh my gosh, we can't, they don't want to work. They're lazy. No, it's a small percentage, and those are the ones that make the news. But the majority want to be a contributing member of society. They want to make their community better. They want to make the whole country better as a whole. And so now we're looking at like, okay, we just imposed this 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. So now we're starting to collect. So now we're starting to make a delta in between the production cost and actually selling it, right? Because now it costs you 25% more. And now it's going to be a question of like, hey, for another 10 or 15%, I can actually bring the manufacturing back to the United States and support all these people that live around here, right? So I can support this guy, I can support that guy, and I can support that guy over there, because you need managers, you need parts, you need all this other stuff. And now what's going to happen is if you get all these people employed, all of a sudden you're going to see prosperity grow, you're going to see crime go down. And that's the idea, right? Where crime goes down, the poverty rate goes down, and you give people opportunities, you give people jobs, and they're happy, and they get to feed their family. And now everybody's in the comments going to probably be like, oh, this is just wishful thinking. And I say, it's got to start somewhere. And I'd rather have short-term pain over long-term gain, right? So I'm okay with struggling for another year, another 2 years, and saying, you know what, this is shit, this is garbage, for then 8 years of prosperous being where we can say, hey, we brought jobs back. And how do I know? Because Audi and the Volkswagen Group is thinking about opening up manufacture of investing into the United States and giving people manufacturing jobs and all this other stuff. And even if you say, oh my gosh, a lot of jobs are going to be done with artificial intelligence and all this other stuff, yeah, you might be right. But what's going to happen is there's going to be truckers, there's going to be warehouse workers, there's going to be all these other things that need to go to another place to manufacture the goods, right? So if you're going to have manufacturing done, you got to have supply chain set up, and supply chain needs people, right? You need supply chain managers, you need the drivers, you need all these other things, and to make that all work out. And so when you bring manufacturing back to the United States, all of a sudden there's going to be less crime. Your city or your municipality is going to do better because all of a sudden there's job, there's payroll tax, there's all these other things that are starting to benefit you. But if you suck all the jobs out of the economy, who's going to buy your everything, right? Who's going to buy your trees? Who's going to buy your manufactured iPhones? Who's going to buy all this stuff when people don't have money because they don't have a job to do it, right? And so if you have a job, it all of a sudden starts to be like, hey, we can go out eating, so we can support our waiter, so we can support our local pizza shop, we can support our local boba shop, and you can start doing all that kind of stuff. But it needs to start somewhere, and 25% tariff, I don't think that that's going to be that much of an issue, because we're seeing it already. We're seeing price hikes are huge already everywhere. So 25% in goods coming in from Mexico is actually not too bad. And when I look at the superstores, I look at Walgreens, I look at Walmart, I look at CVS's and all these other ones, I'm okay with some of these grocery prices going up a little bit, because once one price goes up a little bit, some other brand or another company might have opportunity to undercut that, and so you vote with your wallet. And so all of a sudden you might say, avocados from Mexico aren't that are too expensive. Let me take the one that are grown somewhere else. And so that gives you the opportunity to buy it or not buy it. And if you're like, you know what, it's too expensive and I'm not gonna do that, then don't. You know, that's up to you, because you can vote with your wallet. So then it's gonna really, really sting them with those tariffs if you're gonna stop buying it. If you're gonna keep buying the goods, then they're like, okay, you know, consumers are doing it. And yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting ride with those taxes, because I personally don't think that it's going to be too bad. And now you're like, oh my gosh, car prices are going to go up and all these other things are going to go up. They might, yeah. Or they might say, you know what, we're going to invest into the United States, we're going to bring manufacturing back, and we're going to do all these other things so that they can prosper again and create into the system. Because when I'm looking at it, it's like in a scenario where globalization be fair and even, you couldn't subsidize your own industries to create jobs, to do all this other stuff, and you'd have growth everywhere. But since we're not living in a place where everybody plays by the same rules, then it's just not great. Because when you're looking at what other countries subsidize and then they import it, that kind of just draws a vacuum. And so then it's like, it's not feasible for us to do that anymore, and we're going to be done, and we're going to move manufacturing. But now, let's say John Deere made a video about that a long time ago. Moved manufacturing to Mexico, all of a sudden their tractors are going to be 25% more expensive. So what does that open up? Well, that opens it up for new companies, for Caterpillar, for other companies to say, you know what, we're going to produce in the United States and we're going to sell these cheaper. So all of a sudden, this big conglomerate is going to face some questionable paths that they're going to have to take. They're either going to have to pay their workers in Mexico way less in order to make up for the 25%, or they're going to say, you know what, we're going to start working on, bringing manufacturing back, because you do want jobs in the United States. And I think we can all agree, if you have no jobs as an individual, what do you do all day? You come up with stupid ideas and you're just gonna, you're gonna drain on the system, right? But if you have a job, you're doing well, you're making good money, all of a sudden you can take your family to Disneyland, you can take your family on vacations, and you have stuff to lose, and this was what Switzerland has kind of taught me, is like, if people have stuff to lose, they're way less to steal, they're way less like motivated to do something that would jeopardize their status, right? And I saw that the other day when me and Ali went to a store. I think it was, what was it? I think it was like Publix. No, what was it? Can't remember what store it was, but somebody just ran out this, Home Depot it was. Somebody just ran out with a whole bunch of tools out of Home Depot, and they're probably going to sell it on Facebook or some other place, and they just took their stuff and just ran out. And she's like, oh, another one. And I was like, so how many times does this happen a day? Oh, it happens at least 4 or 5 times a day where people just run out. And we need to stop that. We need to say, hey, this is not okay, and cut it. And this is actually in a pretty nice area in Las Vegas where all that stuff happens. And so now we're looking at, we're going to have to pay import taxes. And so so the price is going to go up, so it's going to be way more expensive for everybody. And so then it's like, at what point are we going to say, you know what, let's just manufacture back in the United States and give people jobs? Because I think the real beauty is going to come in once you're going to say, you know what, we're going to we're going to play by these other countries' rules, and say we're going to eliminate payroll tax. We're going to start doing all these other things so that it is incentivized to hire people again. So people have jobs, people have things, and they have stuff to lose, so they don't revolt into crime. But you got to start somewhere. And when you just cap them at the border and you say you got to pay 25%, all of a sudden China can't just set manufacturing up in Mexico and then say, haha, this is how it's going to go. We're just going to bring it across the Mexican border and be done. No, 25%. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be too bad. It might sting, but then we're in the United States. You have options to pick a gazillion different products. When you walk into Safeway, Albertsons, Publix, there's not just one orange juice. There's like 50 of them, right? And so when you walk into these grocery stores and you're like, oh, this one product's going to be way too expensive, well, there's options to buy a different one. And yeah, and that's how you get them. You get them where it hurts. And yeah, it's time to bring jobs back. It's time to get people hired, because I just had a conversation with somebody at Ali's coaching, where she helps people get jobs, that she has been employed for a year now. She can't get any interviews. And if she does get interviews, they're done. And they're good people. They're really nice people. And they're engineers. They're all over. Engineers. They're manufacturing. They're office workers, and it's just brutal when you see them struggle that much, because you just can't keep it up with all these layoffs. And yeah, it is brutal. So it's time to get people back into the United States, jobs back. And let me know, do you agree with this? Not at all? Was this all just nonsense? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm interested to hear what you guys are thinking, if this is actually that bad, because I don't think so. But hey, I'm just one person, And yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about 25% tariffs. Good, bad, not so much. And please, please, if you haven't liked and subscribed, I'm in Las Vegas. It is super nice out and it's actually kind of warm, so I'm stoked about it. And I will see you in the next one.